G'day guys, this will be my review of the InfiRay Finder FH35R V2 thermal scanner. I've owned and used the original FH35R since it came out nearly 2 years ago. I guess you could say I've got a few hours behind that device, but let's see what this new V2 version is like. During the review, I'll splice over a heap of thermal clips recorded by the Finder. I will note that from what I can see, the recorded videos are degraded in detail versus what you see in the eyepiece. They seem to be about 60% quality, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of the device performance in field conditions. This device has been sent to me by Ben at Hunt the Night. Sorry mate, no, you're not getting it back, if that gives anyone an indication of what I think its performance is like. The basics of the V2 Finder is very similar to the original, so I won't be doubling up on many features and aspects covered in my original 2022 video. It's probably worth watching that for context after this one to fill in any gaps. I'll put a video link up on the screen. I'll try to cover some comparative thoughts against other thermals within the video too, based on my experience. There have been some upgrades to the device which I will try to cover, but the biggest upgrade would be the sub 25 millikelvin sensor. The original was 35 millikelvin, and the new one, it certainly does have an upgrade to the image quality. General form factor and size. I'm not running over everything as I covered much of this in the last video. Where things differ from a usability perspective is the rubberized front objective focus ring is now wider. I find this an excellent upgrade as the slimmer ring on the original was sometimes a pain. The lens cap on the V2 is now plastic, but it's a good quality one and an improvement over the aluminium cap on the V1. I don't normally say that about plastic, but it is better as the V1 cap was a bit of a pain in the long run. The buttons now have a better feel to the fingertips and a more positive detent or click on activation. The V1 buttons were a bit mushy, so I do like this change. Ergonomics outside of that are the same as the V1, and I will note that it is a relatively small device considering it has a laser rangefinder. Menus and operating system. I really don't like the stupid pictograms used for the menu settings. Yes, there's an operator's manual to tell you what each silly picture does, but why InfiRay can't run descriptive text next to the icon is beyond me. That alone would simplify changing settings for those who hunt not carrying an operator's manual in your back pocket. Because everyone carries a manual with them in the middle of a paddock at 2 AM in the morning. Ergonomics outside of that are the same as the V1, and it's an easy device to use with buttons placed intuitively. Battery is identical to the V1. The device comes with 2 and a charging dock. Runtime is around 4 to 6 hours per battery, depending on screen time, recording, and LRF usage. Startup time. I've talked about this before, and these InfiRay finders are slow, and have slow in capitals. It's around 24 seconds from off to fully functional. No issue if you run the device turned on all evening. But don't expect anything to happen quickly from a standing start if you do have it turned off. The LRF works really well, and I've pinged ranges off trees out to about 750 meters. That's more than I need, and I'm very happy with how it performs. Image, very important aspect, and you do notice a practical change over the V1. The V1 Finder has a very functional image. I didn't run it as a remote scanner for nearly 2 years if it was crap. One limitation of the V1 was the inability to identify an object from a hot animal. Often the V1 would show a rabbit to look like a warm rock in temperature or colour tone in the iPlace display. This was often niggly in use if scanning areas with exposed rock or a lot of timber when trying to find animals. The V2 though, with the sub 25 MK sensor, has a much deeper tone range in the image, and you can tell much more about what is alive or terrain warmth. I'll unfairly caveat though, the V2 is not on par to devices with a 50mm f1 objective lens, but the V2 still has a great image. Others are better though on image alone, but often at the expense of things like field of view or portability. I say it often, there's more factors to this thermal game than image alone. It needs to suit your function in many aspects to work well. I'm not getting animal ID any further than I did with the V1 outside of terrain influences. Actual target animals look fine to me in either version, although the V2 is a little bit nicer and hot animals like feral pigs absolutely pop in the eyepiece. Colour palettes and modes all the same as covered in my V1 review. Usable ID ranges are the same as the V1, and I'm comfortable getting ID on a moving fox to about 250 metres. Larger animals like pigs you will ID further out, but that depends on animal movement and ground cover, which is the same for all different thermals. I'm just standing here, I've started the review, and my wife is over here on a rug doing something. I've just been told I have to move. We're on 4,000 acres. I don't know why we can't find enough space, but I'm staying, she's staying, we're both stubborn. Let's continue. Wi-Fi, this seems to be an ongoing niggle for most. Connectivity seems fine to the app, so no complaints there. But image quality via Wi-Fi is nowhere near as good as the eyepiece. Similar degradation as the recorded videos. Jumping straight across from Wi-Fi to using this device hardwired to a remote screen. This is the key reason I hugely rate the Finders. They have the ability to hardwire via mini HDMI lead, displaying the eyepiece image straight onto an IPS remote screen. I run the V2 in exactly this manner on my ATV as a remote scanner in place of a spotlight. The Finders have a direct quarter thread in the base, which allows you to firmly attach the device to a remote mount without the need for adapters or modified Arca plates. Also, there is clear access to the mini HDMI and USB-C power inputs. I always run a power bank in mine, and that negates changing batteries throughout the night. I'll give a plug here for Ben's store Hunt the Night again. I'm running his IPS display on RAM mounts he also sells. Neat system and available over the counter, which is what many people seek. There is zero lag or latency to a hardwired image when you pan around. The image is a direct representation of the eyepiece. Caveat: you have no device control when hardwired. You need to physically push the buttons on the scanner. This has never bothered me, as I'm generally a set and forget user each night. Although you can Wi-Fi to a phone as well as hardwire it, which will allow remote app control to the scanner if you do feel the need. Back to the Wi-Fi. You can actually have both a Wi-Fi image and a hardwired display running at once, side by side. Of course, this is exactly what I did when I was testing. I have no reservations stating that the Wi-Fi image on a tablet loses nearly half the detail shown against the hardwired display. It was quite polarizing and a very clear visual representation of the difference. The largest negative to running hardwired is the emergence of remote control wireless pan head controllers. These will allow infinite rotation with no cables if Wi-Fi'd to a screen. Obviously a factor when you're running a cabled interface. It's workable though, and I'm doing just that on my car, but no cables would be better if the image was Wi-Fi'd at decent quality. Video and audio recording. As mentioned, the video quality is not a full visual representation of the eyepiece and what you will see. There's about a 40% degradation. That's a shame as a YouTuber, but this device isn't my primary scanner at the moment, so no biggie from me. Audio. I'll call a spade, and the V1 was abysmal, but the V2, the audio is actually quite good, very usable. I'm really happy with that change. Just a random sheep wandering around. No, mate, all your friends, they're all the way up the hill there. No, that's my wife. She's not your friend. No, don't go. Oh dear, it's going over to her. This will be interesting. It likes you. How's the V2 stack up to other devices? Take the image aspect out. If you're looking for a device to hardwire to a remote screen, this V2 Finder is your jam. Stop looking and go and buy one. Compared to the XP50 series of pulsar scanners, the V2 doesn't have as nice of an image. But again, they are a 50mm lens device and punch above the capacity of what this Finder is at 35mm. I have compared it to the HIT Condor with a 35mm lens. The image is comparable, although personally I'd give a very small edge to the Finder image. This will vary depending on the user though, and both are pretty nice. For the 4,200 Aussie dollar price, I feel the Finder FH35R V2 is hard not to recommend with the feature set if you require that. Again, thanks to Ben from Hunt the Night for sending me the device. I'm really sorry, mate. It's probably going to be lost in the mail on the return, never to be seen again, unless you're looking on my quad bike. Down in the video description is an affiliate link to his website. Supporting people who support me is a good way to continue the trend. It costs you nothing to use the affiliate link, and it does help me a bunch. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see everyone in the next video.